My family falsely accused me of slept with my cousin's fiance disowned me. Now the real homewrecker's confession exposed a truth they never expected. So I'm James, 32 now, but this whole mess started when I was 27. I grew up in a smallish town just outside of Portland, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone's business, whether you like it or not. My cousin, Mike, and I were practically inseparable as kids. Family vacations, we shared a room every single time until we hit our teens. That's how tight we were. Our moms are sisters, so they made sure we were always together. Holidays, weekends, you name it. Mike was getting married to Katie, who, funny enough, grew up just 3 houses down from us. Her family moved into the neighborhood when she was 8 and I was 10. And from day one, our families just meshed. You know how some neighbors turn into family? That's what happened. Katie's parents used to babysit Mike and me whenever our folks worked late. And every summer without fail, we'd have those big loud joint barbecues in the backyard. It was that kind of bond. Katie was like my little sister. She'd come to me for advice about boys in middle school. I helped her with math homework. Okay, more like we struggled through it together, laugh out loud. And I even taught her how to drive in my beat-up Honda Civic when she was learning. Rest in peace to my car's transmission. So obviously, when Mike and Katie started dating in college, everyone was thrilled. It just made sense, you know. They'd been dancing around each other since high school. And when they finally got together in their junior year, the whole family was like, finally. I'm not even exaggerating. Our grandma literally cried when they announced they were engaged. Fast forward to the wedding day, June 15, 2019. It was at this pretty nice venue just outside town. Not super fancy, but definitely nicer than my brother Mark's backyard wedding the year before. Sorry bro, but that porta potty situation was rough. I was one of Mike's groomsmen along with his best man Tom, his roommate from college, and a few other guys. The morning started normal enough. I got there early to help set up because that's what you do when your favorite cousin is getting married, right? I was wearing this navy suit that cost way too much. But hey, wedding photos are forever. I had my groomsman boutonniere pinned on. It took like 3 tries to get it straight and was helping direct people to where they needed to go. This elderly couple had just asked me where the bathrooms were for like the 3rd time. They were really sweet, but definitely struggling with directions. So I was walking them over personally because I'm not a monster. That's when everything went to hell. I hear this commotion behind me and before I can even turn around fully, wham, I got hit so hard I literally saw stars. Like, I always thought that was just something people said in movies but no, actual freaking stars. Mike had come charging in with Tom and a couple of other guys trailing behind him. He looked, I don't even know how to describe it, like rage and hurt and something else all mixed together. He just started wailing on me. Not like one punch and done. This was full-on assault mode. I'm not a small guy, 6 feet 1 inch, and I hit the gym occasionally, but Mike works construction and he was just destroying me. The whole time he's screaming stuff like, how could you? And I trusted you. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to protect my face and figure out what the hell is happening. Tom and 2 other groomsmen finally managed to pull him off me. By this point, I'm bleeding all over my fancy new suit. Rest in peace to that too. Blood does not come out easily. My left eye is swelling shut and I'm pretty sure my nose is broken. The elderly couple I was helping, they're just standing there in shock. The woman was crying. I still feel bad about ruining their day too. Someone, I think it was the venue manager, called for medical help. They wanted to call the cops too, but I managed to say no through my busted lip. Like, even though I had no idea what was happening, this was still Mike. We grew up together. No way was I getting him arrested. I ended up at this urgent care place a few miles away. The doctor kept asking if I wanted to press charges while she checked if my nose was broken. Fun fact, it wasn't broken, just badly bruised. I still have a tiny bump there though. She gave me this ice pack that was so cold it almost hurt worse than the punches. Okay, not really, but damn, those medical ice packs are no joke. That's when I got the text. You know those moments in movies where the character looks at their phone and their whole world changes? Yeah. It was one of those. A message from my dad, wedding's canceled. Clear your stuff out of the garage by tonight. Quick context, I'd moved out years ago, but kept some stuff stored at my parents' place. Boxes of childhood memories, some sports equipment, photo albums. Basically, the stuff you can't fit in a small apartment, but don't want to throw away. Nothing major, but the way he said it, that's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I called my dad immediately straight to voicemail. Same with mom, my sister wouldn't pick up either. The only person who answered was my brother, Mark, and all he said was, how could you do this to the family? Before hanging up, I'm sitting in urgent care with an ice pack on my face, looking like I just went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson, and nobody in my family will answer their phones. The nurse keeps giving me these sympathetic looks while I'm trying to call everyone I can think of, probably thinking I'm some guy who got in a bar fight at 11 a.m. wearing a suit. Yeah, finally, I decided to just drive to my parents' house. Quick side note, trying to drive with one eye swollen shut is not fun. Do not recommend. I had to keep turning my whole head to check my blind spot, probably look like some kind of deranged owl to other drivers. I pull up to my parents' place, the same house I grew up in, typical suburban setup with the faded blue paint mom's been promising to redo for, like, 5 years. My sister Jenny's car is in the driveway along with my brother Mark's pickup and my parents' vehicles. Great. The whole family's here. This should be fun. I walk in through the garage, still had my key at this point, and head into the kitchen. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and everyone stops talking immediately? Yeah. Multiply that by about 1,000. Mom's sitting at the kitchen island, Dad's by the coffee maker, Jenny's in her usual spot on the counter. She's 25, but still sits there like she's 12, and Mark's leaning against the fridge. The first thing Mom does is gasp. Not like a subtle gasp, full-on soap opera style. "Oh my God, what did Mike do to your face?" Then she immediately follows it with, "But how could you, James? How could you do this to the family?" The whiplash from concern to accusation gave me an even worse headache than I already had. That's when they finally tell me what's going on. Apparently, I've been having this steamy affair with Katie. Yes, that Katie, the girl who used to make fun of my acne in high school. The one who helped me pick out my first real girlfriend's birthday present. The person who literally called me basically her big brother in her college graduation speech. According to them, we'd been sneaking around for months. I literally laughed. Like actually laughed out loud, which, pro tip, don't laugh with a split lip. It hurts like hell. But it was just so ridiculous I couldn't help it. That's when Mark, my own brother, who was best man at my wedding before my divorce, whole other story not relevant here, grabs this duffel bag from behind the couch and throws it at my feet. "Get your stuff and get out," he says, trying to sound all tough like he's in some movie. The bag's got maybe half of my stuff from the garage. I found out later he just grabbed random things. Got my old baseball cards but left all my photos from high school and college. "Thanks bro." I tried explaining obviously. Kept saying this was insane. Asking for proof. Trying to understand where this was even coming from. Dad just kept shaking his head saying stuff like, "We trusted you and how could you do this to Mike?" Mom wouldn't even look at me. Jenny, who usually talks enough for the whole family, just sat there silent. I asked them what proof they had. Their response? "We just know." That's it. That's literally all they had. No screenshots of texts because there weren't any. No photos of us together except, normal family photos from the last 15 plus years. Nothing. They just knew. The worst part? These are the people who know me. Mom and Dad who raised me to always tell the truth, who literally grounded me for a month in 8th grade when I lied about finishing my science project. Jenny who used to come to me with all her problems because I was the reasonable one in the family. Mark, who I helped move apartments 3 times because he's too cheap to hire movers. They all just decided I was guilty. No questions asked. I tried calling Katie straight to voicemail. Texted her. No response. Called her parents' house. Yes, they still had a landline. Mr. H answered and told me if I ever called again, he'd call the police. Real Christian behavior there, Mr. Everyone, deserves forgiveness. H. I left my parents' house in a daze. Didn't even grab the bag Mark threw at me. Just got in my car and drove. I ended up at Murphy's, this bar downtown I'd been going to for trivia night every Thursday for like 4 years. The bartender, Dave, takes one look at my face and starts pouring my usual whiskey sour. Basic, I know. Then Mike's college roommate walks in for his shift, sees me, and suddenly Dave's telling me I need to leave. Apparently, I'm not welcome there anymore. Cool. Real cool. I drove home to my apartment, tried calling Katie again. Nothing. At this point, my phone's blowing up with texts from random family members and family friends. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone knew we were too close. Suddenly, every time Katie and I hung out or talked was suspicious. That time I helped her move apartments after college, obviously, we were hooking up. The fact that her boyfriend at the time helped too, conveniently forgotten. I had to turn my phone off. Just sat there in my dark apartment with a bag of frozen peas on my face. The ice pack from urgent care had melted. Trying to figure out how my entire life had imploded in the span of about 6 hours. I called in sick to work for Monday. How do you explain to your boss that your face looks like a professional boxer's punching bag because your cousin thinks you're sleeping with his fiance? Yeah, that's not a conversation I wanted to have. The next few weeks were absolute hell. You don't realize how interconnected your life is with your family until they all suddenly decide you're dead to them. Quick example, I tried to go to my regular gym Monday morning. Figured exercise might help clear my head. Guess who's there? Mike's workout buddy, Steve, who apparently now manages the place. Suddenly, my membership is being reviewed and I should try a different location. It's like the whole town was playing this twisted game of 6 degrees of separation, except it was 6 degrees of ways to screw over James, my regular coffee shop. The barista is Katie's cousin's best friend. The local grocery store owner goes to church with Mike's parents. Even my freaking dentist canceled my cleaning appointment. His kid plays Little League with Mike's nephew or something. The work situation was fun too. I had to explain to my boss why I looked like I'd been in a bar fight. I tried to keep it vague, but Susan from accounting overheard because, of course, she did. And by lunch break, the whole office knew. I got called into HR because apparently someone, thanks Susan, was concerned about my personal conduct. I had to explain to this 23-year-old HR rep that, no, I wasn't engaging in inappropriate relations with anyone while she looked at me like I was some kind of soap opera villain. Finally managed to get hold of Katie after about a week. That first call was rough. Like nuclear explosion level rough. It started with her screaming at me for ruining her life and me yelling back about how my life was ruined too. But somewhere between the yelling and the crying, yes, I cried. Judge me all you want. We actually started listening to each other. Turned out, her side of things was even worse than mine. Her super religious parents had basically excommunicated her, like full on you're dead to us style. Her dad even called their priest to see if they could get her formally excommunicated from the church. Spoiler, that's not how it works, Mr. H. Her mom had already packed up all her childhood stuff in garbage bags and left them on the front porch. Real classy. Katie's work situation was a nightmare too. She was a project manager at this big marketing firm downtown, but her team lead was Mike's cousin on his mom's side. Suddenly, all her projects were being reassigned, and she was getting written up for being unfocused at work. Yeah, wonder why she might be unfocused when her entire life was imploding. We started comparing notes over text. Calling felt too risky. We didn't want anyone overhearing and starting more rumors. Neither of us had any idea where these accusations came from. Every time we asked anyone for proof, they just say stuff like everyone knows or it was obvious. Like what? What was obvious? The fact that we'd known each other since we were kids? That we could actually hold a conversation without it being weird? The one time I managed to corner Mike, I ran into him at the gas station. He couldn't exactly run away while pumping gas. His response was, "I saw the way you looked at her." The way I looked at her? Are you kidding me? I looked at her the same way I looked at Jenny because she was basically my sister. Remember that duffel bag of stuff from my parents' garage? Yeah. I finally went back to get the rest of my things about 2 weeks later. Mom had boxed everything up and left it in the garage. Didn't even label the boxes, just threw everything in randomly. I found my high school graduation photos mixed in with old Christmas decorations. My college diploma was stuffed in with some old sports equipment. Cool. Real cool, Mom? The social media fallout was fun too. I got blocked by pretty much everyone in the family. Katie's sister, who had helped with her college applications, posted this vague status about snakes in the family that got like 200 comments. People I hadn't talked to since high school were suddenly messaging me about how they always knew something was off about me. I started getting random calls and texts from unknown numbers. Apparently, someone, pretty sure it was Katie's brother, had shared my number in some family group chat. I had to change my number after getting bombarded with lovely messages calling me everything from a homewrecker to, well, you can imagine. Katie and I eventually realized we needed to get out. This town was suffocating us. Everyone had already decided we were guilty and nothing we said or did was going to change their minds. We couldn't even meet up to talk about it in person because people would definitely see us and think it proved everything. I got real tired of defending myself against something I didn't do. How do you prove a negative? How do you prove something didn't happen? It's impossible. And apparently, in the eyes of everyone we knew, the fact that we couldn't prove our innocence meant we must be guilty. After about 2 months of living like a hermit and having DoorDash drivers give me weird looks, pretty sure someone told them I was that guy. I decided enough was enough. I applied for a transfer at work. Thankfully, my company has offices in Seattle. My boss was surprisingly cool about it. Probably just wanted to get rid of the office drama, to be honest. Katie and I had our last conversation before leaving town. We decided it was better to go our separate ways. She picked Chicago. I took Seattle. We kept in touch through Instagram, but that was it. Unfollowed each other on everything else just to be safe. We didn't need anyone taking screenshots and starting rumors about how we were still sneaking around. Moving to Seattle was interesting. Try explaining to potential roommates why you're suddenly moving cities at 27 with basically no furniture. My first place was this tiny studio in Capitol Hill that cost way too much, but it was mine, and nobody there knew my name or my story. You can't put a price on that kind of freedom. I started over completely. New phone number, new email. I had to abandon my old one after it got spammed with subscription signups. Real mature guys. I even got rid of my old PlayStation account because some of Mike's friends kept sending me hateful messages through the gaming chat. Who does that? Work was actually pretty good. The nice thing about being the new guy is nobody asks too many questions about your past. I just told people I needed a change of scenery. Not technically a lie, right? I threw myself into work, started hitting the gym regularly, different chain than my old one obviously, tried to build some kind of routine. I found this cool bar called the Crocodile that did trivia nights on Wednesdays. It was a different vibe than Murphy's back home, but the bartenders didn't look at me like I was Satan incarnate, so that was an upgrade. I started going regularly, met some decent people, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Then came the work barbecue that changed everything. It was summer 2021, one of those rare perfect Seattle days where it's not raining and not too hot. My coworker Jake was hosting at his place in Ballard. I almost didn't go. Still wasn't great with group social situations, but Jake had helped me figure out the Seattle bus system when I first moved, so I felt like I owed him. That's where I met Amy. She was Jake's wife's friend from yoga class. Remember those moments in movies where the main character sees someone and everything else kind of fades away? Yeah, that's bull. What actually happened was she caught me having an embarrassingly intense conversation with Jake's dog about proper frisbee throwing technique. Not my smoothest moment, but somehow that led to us talking. She was easy to talk to. Didn't do that Seattle freeze thing where people are polite but distant. We ended up sitting on Jake's porch for like 2 hours just chatting about random stuff. She's into true crime podcasts. Yeah, I see the irony. And actually got my dumb jokes about Seattle traffic. We started dating pretty quickly after that. Third date in, I knew I had to tell her everything. You can't build something real on lies, right? So I laid it all out. The wedding, the accusations, the family drama, everything. I figured she'd run for the hills. Instead, she just listened. Actually listened. Asked questions that showed she was trying to understand, not judge. When I finished, she just said, "That really sucks. Want to get ice cream?" And somehow, that was exactly the right response. The weird part? She started following Katie on Instagram. I'd mentioned keeping minimal contact. Turns out, they're both obsessed with this podcast called Crime Junkie, and suddenly they're DMing about episodes. Next thing I know, they've started this virtual book club thing with some other true crime fans. They do Zoom calls every other week with wine and snacks to discuss whatever they're reading. Katie's life got better too. She met this guy, Chris, through work in Chicago. He's some kind of software developer who apparently doesn't know how to write code without at least 3 monitors. Amy's words. They talk about random stuff in their book club. He seems decent though. Treats her well. Doesn't jump to insane conclusions. You know, the basics. It started feeling like maybe everything happened for a reason. Don't get me wrong, it still sucked losing my family and hometown. I still have days where I miss my mom's cooking or wonder what my nieces and nephews look like now. But I've built something good here. Real friends who actually trust me. A girlfriend who listens. A life that's actually mine. The funny thing is, I actually like Seattle me better than Portland me. Portland me was always trying to keep everyone happy, walking on eggshells around family drama. Seattle me just lives, goes to work, plays video games, takes Amy to try new restaurants, exists without constantly looking over my shoulder. I found out through Katie that her parents still badmouth me at church. Apparently, I'm their cautionary tale about wolves in sheep's clothing or whatever. Cool, good to know. 5 years later, they're still talking about me. Real healthy, Mr. and Mrs. H. So there I was living my best Seattle life. Good job, awesome girlfriend, even started taking cooking classes. Turns out, I'm okay at pasta, everything else is still a work in progress. Then last month happened and suddenly, it's like the past came crashing back like a bad hangover. It started on a Tuesday. Amy works from home most days because her company went remote after COVID and never went back. She usually walks to this Mediterranean place down the street for lunch. They make this shawarma that's basically crack in sandwich form. That day, she gets home and something's off. There's this note stuck to our door. Not like a sorry we missed your delivery note or a flyer for lawn care, we live in an apartment. But sure, keep leaving those. Just a plain white paper that says, we need to talk. I'll be back tonight. No name, no number, nothing, just that. Now my name's on the mailbox. Amy kept her old place as a rental, so she's not on the lease. So Amy figured it was for me. She calls me at work, which never happens because she hates phone calls and usually just texts. I can tell she's freaked out because she's doing that thing where she talks super fast and forgets to breathe between sentences. I leave work early because who wouldn't? I get home and Amy's got all the doors locked and is holding her old softball bat from college. She played Division I softball at Washington State University and still has a mean swing. We do batting cages sometimes and she consistently kicks my ass. But seeing her actually scared enough to grab the bat, that hit different. We stayed up late that night waiting. Amy stress-baked 3 batches of cookies, her go-to when she's anxious, and we binged some mindless Netflix show neither of us was actually watching. Nobody showed up. Same thing the next night and the next. Just when we were starting to think it was maybe some weird prank or a mistaken address, it happened. Friday night around 8:30, we just finished dinner, ordered in because neither of us wanted to cook when someone knocked on the door. I look through the peephole and my stomach just drops. It's Mike, standing there in what looks like yesterday's clothes. Clearly hadn't shaved in days, swaying slightly like he's either drunk or really tired or both. Amy grabs her bat. I told her it wasn't necessary but wasn't going to argue and open the door but kept the chain on. The security chain probably wouldn't stop him if he decided to go full rage mode again, but I figured it was better than nothing. The conversation went something like this. Mike, hey, can I come in? Me, absolutely not. Mike, come on man. I just want to talk. Me, last time you wanted to talk, I ended up in urgent care. Mike, looking at his feet. Yeah, about that. I came to apologize. Me, apology accepted. Goodbye. I started closing the door. Mike, wait. I know the truth now about everything. Me, cool story. Still not letting you in. Mike, I need to apologize to Katie too. Can you give me her contact info? Me, I actually left. Yeah, that's not happening. Mike, please, I just want to make things right. Me, you had 5 years to make things right. 5 years of silence. Now you show up at my door expecting what exactly? He kept trying to talk, but I'd had enough. I told him I'd let Katie know he was trying to reach out and if she wanted to talk to him, she could make that choice herself. Then I shut the door. Through the door, I heard him yell something about unblocking my mom because she wanted to talk. I went back to the living room where Amy was still holding her bat like she was ready for baseball season. I called Katie right away. Figured she needed to know Mike was suddenly trying to make contact. She was as thrown as I was. Made it very clear she didn't want me giving Mike her info, which I totally got. The whole thing messed with my head more than I expected. I had trouble sleeping that night. Kept thinking about Mike showing up like that. He looked rough, not just unshaved and rumpled, but like defeated. Not the same guy who tried to rearrange my face 5 years ago. Amy was amazing through all of it. She's usually this goofy, laid-back person who makes bad puns and dances while doing dishes, but that week, she went full protective mode. She installed a Ring doorbell the next day. We're renters, but she said she'd rather lose the deposit than feel unsafe. She started working from the coffee shop downstairs instead of at home. Even called her brother, who's a cop in Tacoma, to ask about restraining orders just in case. It took me a couple of days to decide what to do about my mom. I finally unblocked her number, but sent a text instead of calling. I hear you want to talk. Figured that ball was in their court now. After 5 years of silence, They don't get to just show up and expect everything to be fine. After Mike's surprise visit, my mom started texting, not calling. Guess she figured out I wasn't ready for that. Here's how that first exchange went. Mom, we want you to come home. Me, I am home. Mom, you know what I mean. We want to apologize and have you back in the family. Me, what brought this on? Mom, we know what really happened now. Me, only took 5 years. Cool. Yeah, I was being petty. Sue me. Finally, after some back and forth, she spills it. 2 years after the wedding that wasn't, Mike married Jessica. She was this girl from his gym. Turns out, she's the one I saw at Katie's wedding. The bridesmaid sitting alone looking uncomfortable. Makes sense now. Their marriage was apparently a disaster from day one. Constant fighting, trust issues, the works. During one of their bigger fights about 6 months ago, Jessica let something slip. Said something like, I didn't wreck Emily's relationship just to spend my marriage hearing about her. Yeah, let that sink in. Turns out, Jessica had made the whole thing up. All of it. She had a thing for Mike, saw how close he was with Katie, and decided to remove the competition. She told Mike she'd seen Katie and me together, fed him all these details about supposed meetups and secret messages. But when Mike demanded proof, she couldn't provide any because, it never happened. And here's the kicker. When Mike brought these accusations to the family, everyone just believed it, no questions asked. Their logic? Mike wouldn't ruin his own wedding unless he was sure. Because apparently, being sure means taking the word of some random girl from the gym over people you've known your entire life. Not one person in either family stopped to actually talk to me or Katie. Not one person asked for proof. Not one person thought, hey, maybe we should hear their side before we completely destroy their lives. The worst part? Jessica apparently had a history of this stuff. After everything came out, Mike's friend Tom remembered she'd done something similar at her last gym. Accused a trainer of harassment when he wouldn't leave his girlfriend for her. But nobody thought to check into that before my face became Mike's personal punching bag. Katie's taking it even harder than me. All those church people who treated her like she was walking sin. Her parents who literally threw her childhood memories in garbage bags. Her boss who made her life hell until she had to quit. None of them bothered to verify anything either. Here's a fun timeline for you. June 2019, wedding day disaster. July 2019, Katie and I both leave town. December 2019, Mike starts dating Jessica. March 2020, they get married. Yeah, rush much? August 2021, I meet Amy. September 2024, Jessica finally admits she made it all up. October 2024, everyone suddenly wants to apologize. 5 years. 5 whole years of being the family pariah. 5 years of missing birthdays, holidays, weddings, births. 5 years of my nieces and nephews being told Uncle James is a bad person. All because some girl from the gym couldn't handle the fact that my cousin was happy with someone else. Amy's been my rock through all this. When I told her what happened, she just sat there for a minute then said, so what you're telling me is that your entire family is dumber than a box of rocks. It made me laugh for the first time since finding out. Katie's response was less humorous. Direct quote from our phone call. They can take their apologies and shove them where the sun doesn't shine. Tell us how you really feel, Katie. The worst part isn't even the lie itself. It's how easily everyone believed it. These people who've known me since I was born, who watched me grow up, who supposedly loved me, they all decided that this story about me and Katie made more sense than the truth. My mom keeps sending these long texts about how sorry they all are, how they should have known better, how they want to make it right. Dad even tried calling. Block that real quick. Jenny sending photos of her kids with guilt-trippy captions like, they want to meet their uncle. But here's the thing. You can't just press reset on 5 years of treating someone like garbage. You can't just say, oops or bad, and expect everything to go back to normal. Trust is like a mirror. Once it's broken, you can try to piece it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. I'll keep you updated, guys, if anything happens. Thanks for reading. Final update. Well, Reddit, this is it. The final update. Katie and I decided it was time to face the music back home. We agreed to meet with both families, but on our terms, I picked a neutral location. This coffee shop downtown that neither family had any connections to. Katie was too anxious to fly back just for this, so we set up my laptop with her on Zoom. I had her on speaker, but her video was off. She wanted to hear everything, but didn't want to see their faces. Can't blame her. The gang was all there. My parents, Mike, Jessica, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Katie's parents, my siblings, even Tom showed up. Probably feeling guilty about the whole best man who didn't stand up for me ending. Before anyone could start with their apologies, I laid down some ground rules. 1. Katie can hear everything. She can choose to speak or not. 2. If she disconnects, the meeting's over. 3. Nobody touches me. Looking at you, Mike. 4. No religious guilt tripping. That was for Katie's parents. First up was Jessica. She looked, well, rough. Marriage troubles aren't doing her any favors. Her big explanation, she was in love with Mike and thought Katie didn't deserve him. That's it. That's literally her reason for blowing up multiple lives. Not some big misunderstanding, not a case of mistaken identity. She just wanted my cousin and decided to nuke everyone else's lives to get him. Mike tried to apologize for the punches, actually. But who's counting? He said he should have known better than to believe Jessica without proof. No, Sherlock? You think? Maybe confirm stuff before you go all WWE on your cousin's face. Then came the parents. Both sets. This was interesting. My mom tried to hug me when I walked in. I stepped back, the look on her face like I'd slapped her. Yeah, well, maybe remember how it felt when you packed up my childhood photos like they were trash, Mom. Katie's dad started in with some biblical forgiveness stuff until Katie unmuted herself and shut that down real quick. Her exact words, "You threw my things in garbage bags and left them in the rain. Don't you dare quote scripture at me." I've never heard Mr. H speechless before. It was kind of amazing. My sister Jenny cried about how much her kids ask about me. Cool story, sis. Where was this concern when you were helping Mom pack up my stuff? When you blocked me on everything? When you told people at church what a horrible person I was? Here's the thing about family. They're supposed to be the ones who know you best, who trust you most, who at least give you the benefit of the doubt, but every single person in that room chose to believe the worst about me and Katie. No questions asked, no proof needed, just straight to, yep, they're obviously secret lovers. Let's destroy their lives. So I told them exactly that. I told Jessica she built her short-lived happiness on other people's pain. I told Mike that his lack of trust destroyed more than just his relationship with Katie. I told both sets of parents that they showed us exactly how conditional their love was, and now they get to live with that knowledge. Katie spoke up at the end. She was calm, which was somehow worse than if she'd yelled. She just said, "The worst part isn't that Jessica lied. It's that none of you thought we were worth the truth. You threw us away based on nothing but gossip. That says more about you than it ever did about us." Then she disconnected. Meeting over. My parents keep trying to fix things. Mom's sending these long emotional texts about family and forgiveness. Dad's apparently telling people he's giving me space. Thanks, Dad. Only 5 years late on that one. Katie's parents suddenly want to come visit her in Chicago. Yeah, good luck with that. But here's the thing. Amy and I have built a life here. A good one. I've got a ring hidden in my sock drawer. Don't tell her, but I'm proposing next month. Katie's happy with Chris. We've both got real friends who actually trust us. Jobs we like. Lives we built from scratch. Sometimes, the family you choose is better than the one you're born with. Sometimes, broken things shouldn't be fixed. And sometimes, the best revenge is just being happy without the people who threw you away. That's how my cousin's wedding destroyed my old life and accidentally led me to a better one.